Now for today's disturbing video, we are going to go ahead and look at just that. Disturbing videos of pastors who are acting rather strange at the pulpit. I have made a couple of these videos in the past, and matter of fact, one of my bigger videos was on Kenneth Copeland. The reason why I enjoy making these videos happens to be because there is a certain creepiness to them, a certain horror element. You have these churchgoers going to these churches, going to these spiritual leaders for advice, for knowledge about Jesus, about God, about the Bible, and yet there is something wrong about these certain spiritual leaders that these churchgoers are completely blind to. Take for instance these prosperity preachers that preach the gospel, and they twist and turn the gospel in such a way where money is what's more important. Like these pastors right here who are preaching about how wealthy they are, their jets, and you have these churchgoers donating their money, clapping them on, and these churchgoers are probably living paycheck to paycheck, who probably don't have a dime themselves.
Well, Pastor West, I heard you got a jet. Yeah, and it's paid. Now, wait a minute now. Why don't you get one? Why don't you get one? Why don't you get one? There ain't no shortage, man. You don't need to be jealous because of my members. Well, Pastor West, I heard
come to pass. I've been believing a long time. Ladies and gentlemen, I now own a Falcon 7X. It's mine. Or if you go on TikTok, they eating my lunch. TikTok, talk your tick. I don't care. It don't make a lick of difference. Well, I heard you have a Falcon 900 too. Yes. You mean you got two jets? You got two cars? You have two cars? Look at me. I'm talking to you out there. Do you have two cars? Why do you have two cars? Because your wife wants one. Delta wish they could fly me. Because when I quit flying Delta, they lost a ton of money. My dream has now come to pass. I am a very blessed man. Me and Kathy are very blessed, physically and financially. I've had more people criticize me over that jet. They still can't get over it. Criticize me over my house. They didn't pay for it. I paid for it. Let me tell you why. That's water on a duck's back to me. And I'm going to give you a scripture. Be not thou afraid when one is made rich. When the glory of his house is, read that, and pull that up in the Amplified. Verse 16 of Psalms chapter 49, if you can do that. Be not thou afraid when one is made rich, when the glory of his house.
Well, it's Amplified says it, be not afraid when an ungodly one is made rich.
That's true.
When the wealth and glory of his house are increased, and goes on, for when he dies he will carry nothing, or
I
his
understand.
glory will not descend.
See, God don't care if someone's ungodly to be rich or godly to be rich. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever at all. You see what I'm saying?
You see how Jesse Duplantis was twisting the gospel in order to excuse his wealthiness. It is his church, his congregation that's giving him the money for these earthly valuables, and his wife Kathy was like, you might want to rethink what you're preaching there. One would think, given their age, given their seniority, they would not make that slip up and start preaching exactly from the Bible, word for word. Because yes, they know the gospel. This is how they know to twist it to benefit them.
Well, Brother Copeland, you own a $45 million airplane. Yeah, but you don't know what I paid for it. Nowhere near that. But it's the same airplane. And Gloria designed a new interior for it. Sonny boy. And a lot of you partners put us in it.
We're part of the name it, claim it, reap it.
Yes.
That's who we are.
Well, and George, hey, we named it, claimed it, blabbed it, grabbed it, and we have it.
We do have it.
We're the one with the airplane.
Yeah.
Zuh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Airplane, zuh.
Zuh.
Not a false prophet. The Lord spoke to me just now. And just because someone is called a pope don't really mean they're the pope. is who God gives the power to. He gave it to me. I'm not a liar. Jesus came to me. So I started to realize I'm the Pope. I don't need no robes. I'm the pontiff. I've been chosen by God to hold the highest rank out of all preachers in the world. But I'm bold enough to say that because the Son of God came to me. And when I give a word to somebody, they should obey. When they don't, they're disrespecting the highest order in the land.
As a prophet, I'm commanding you to give it. You don't have to wait on God to talk to you. I'm his representative. If you obey my words, God will bless your finances. As a matter of fact, he'll make you a millionaire. If you're already a millionaire, he'll make you a multi-hundred million millionaire or a billionaire if you obey my voice. Lord, tonight I stand in my office as a king and an emperor. I come against sickness all over the world. I come against disease all over America. And God, hear what I say, God is going to make you bow to me. Oh, brother, you shouldn't talk like that. I'm going to keep talking like this.
I ain't scared of no prophet. They scared of me. They're going to do what I tell them to do. I'm king here.
And what you've been giving. And so if we had 500 people give $10,000, if we have 500 people give $10,000, we can raise the million in one day. Lord, I also break a stingy spirit because I sense that there's some heavy hitters watching me tonight. There's some people that can give 200,000, 300,000. They can give 50,000, 20,000. They had it saved up. But God, that's a stingy spirit on. There's a spirit of fear. So I break that spirit of stinginess. Some of you are just giving maybe a little money, $10 here, 20, when you know you have thousands of dollars. Don't be like that. Come on, tell me what you can give. You have money put away. You have money in accounts that you know you are sitting on. And it's not right that you come into a ministry like this and get the presence of God and the glory of God. And it's hard for God to get your natural things. You should be willing to give when you have finances. You have finances that you have to give, but you're holding it up. You will have it saved. You have it put away somewhere. God wants you to sow that right now. You have large amounts that you have in savings or annuities, or you probably have to go in a CD and break it, but God is giving it to you. You need to sow it tonight.
And here's the other problem with the church is that anytime a person is in need, y'all go to running and dropping money. But let me tell you something, the poor will be with you always. And there is no blessing connected to blessing the poor other than getting back what you gave to them, but no multiplication. Multiplication is segregated for tithes and offering. When you give to the poor, the only thing you do is help them, but you don't help yourself. So when you give $1 to somebody on the street talking about I did my job, God like, thank you, but it ain't gonna help you. Read your Bible. Charity does not bring wealth. Only the tithe does that. Matter of fact, you don't believe me? Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to preach on it.
But things go from money to downright strange and bizarre.
Of course it hurts. Of course it's fire. Of course it's pain. Of course it's, that's hot. God says, shut up. I can handle it. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Oh, God, that hurts. Oh, God, I'm so tired. Oh, God, I didn't want to lose her. Oh, God, I didn't want to have that pain. Oh, God, no. God, you love me so much, don't you? Yes. Oh, God, thank you for what you're making me. You're welcome. Oh, God, I see an opportunity. Yeah, so do I. Oh, God, I see a beautiful wife. Yeah. I never dreamed of her. A lot of things you never dreamed of, son. Lots of things you never dreamed of. Oh, you think I can marry her? She's very, very polished. You better get more polished, son. Hey, God! The little children, I hold my arms. Oh, it's the sweetest thing in the whole world. Oh, I'm so honored to be their daddy. Now you remember who owns them. Make sure they serve me. That's why I gave them to you, son. Oh, God. I see a pulpit. I see a pulpit. God says, Not done working on you, son. You think I stand here before you tonight sorry that I yielded to God? You think I stand here tonight with these my trusted men sorry that I yielded? You think I'm regretting that I yielded to God? You think I'm sorry when I see this crowd here tonight? No. Oh God, keep polishing. Keep polishing, keep polishing, keep polishing.
Go in your bed, Milo.
Keep it moving. The worst that could happen if everything was true, all I got to do is repent sincerely from my heart. There's enough power in the blood to cover all kinds of sins. I don't care what it is, the blood would fix it. But I ain't got to repent about this. All I got to do is...
I'm showing you how I got to where I am. So before she called me, I was meditating, I was having my prayer time, and I heard the Lord say, I want you to release her. And that's all he said. And everything God say to me, rhema-wise, I write it down on a pad. I have a pad and a pencil in there with me. I write everything down. Release my wife. And I thought, and I asked God talked back to him. I said, release her. I said, what do you mean? Release her into healing? I said, I've already trained her how to get people out of wheelchairs, how to walk in the healing ministry. I've released her into ministry. The only word I understood release mean was to release into ministry. So he didn't say nothing back to me. And then all of a sudden I get this phone call and she says, I want you to come out. I have something to say to you. I need to talk to you. And I knew it was serious because she's never in all those years bothered me when I'm in there with the Lord. So when I come out, she asks me for a divorce when I get home. And then, of course, I go into repair mode. No, we shouldn't do this. God don't want us to do this, blah, blah, blah. Although I was having these dreams, I could not accept what God was saying to me because tradition told me different. See, tradition can be stronger than the voice of God if you let it. Just because somebody told you, you need to stick it out. And I know one person that was in a marriage and she found out her husband was a homosexual 2 weeks later, and the church still tell her, stay in it, try to work it out. I would have told her, I ain't getting AIDS. Come back giving you AIDS. I need to threaten my life with that. I don't think God saved me to kill me. So this is what happens. And I go into, protect mode and all of this. And then all of a sudden, some time passed by and I'm studying Hebrew words and I come across the Hebrew word, I'm talking about the Greek word in the Hebrew lexicon and studying those words. But in the Greek, in the word that says release, or divorce, because we were about to go through a divorce. And I studied the word divorce, and guess what it said in the Greek? A release. So you mean to tell me in Shutaway, God was telling me, release her. Give her the divorce. Whoever teaches when God say get out of a marriage? We always teach when God say get in a marriage. Why don't we teach when God say get out of one? Something ain't right. Are y'all hearing me? So here it is. She leaves me in 2008 of September. Walks away. And all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, Jesus comes to me in a dream and says, I want you to write the book Face to Face. That's when my ministry blew up. What I thought was going to destroy my ministry made it blow up. Sometimes you're in relationships that are killing your destiny. And you're trying to preserve it, but it ain't God. It was when Catherine walked away. When she walked away from that bad marriage that her ministry and her life blew up. Whoever talks about when you're in something wrong. And here's what came from my study of divorce and study of it all. The Lord said in the Bible, he says, every 7 years you shall make a what? Release. That's right. So if divorce means release, then that means every 7 years God give you a way to get out of it.
One day I'm going to preach about getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a hot wife that loves Jesus. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just kidding. My wife went in the hospital.
In weeks leading up to the death of Micah Miller, Pastor John Paul Miller spoke on a regular basis negatively about his wife. Take a listen.
When my wife went in the hospital, I looked at her phone and I counted over the past 2 years, 18 people who had texted her and said, if you ever want to talk about your husband, you can talk to me and say anything and I'll keep it confidential. Why the heck does somebody want to hear what somebody else says about their spouse? And 2 of those 18 were men. I thought, what? And I was thinking, when I read that, I thought, Mark Castaday, he's one of our elders here, and Jackie, she oversees our New Testament discipleship. Could you see Mark calling another woman and saying, you know what, I just want to tell you some things about my wife I don't like? Or could you see Jackie calling a woman or a man, either one? No, if someone wants to call you and say bad things about somebody else, that's a demon talking to you, and the only way to respond is with the Word of God.
Going through 2 years' worth of messages on his wife's phone, the pastor seems frustrated that people would reach out to talk to her about him. And the questionable remarks, whether directly or indirectly, didn't stop there.
Pride and mental illness, or I think mental illness is probably the most horrible thing we can face in our bodies, and pride is probably the most horrible thing we can face in our spirits. And here's why. When you're mentally ill, it's the one sickness you have that you don't know you're sick. And you have to trust people around you because you're saying, no, they're lying to me. They're telling me I need medicine. I don't need medicine, because the thing that's sick is your mind, and your mind is what you need to realize that you're sick. One day I'm going to preach about getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a hot wife that loves Jesus. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just kidding. That was wrong. I told you I shouldn't be here today. I told you. Last year, my wife, they went to Africa, had a wonderful trip, amazing trip. And she came back with the idea to start a school in Africa. And 6 weeks ago, she goes in the hospital, gets out, and just leaves. Just completely leaves me, leaves everything, drains the bank account, and goes. And guess what? While you're talking bad about me out there, I'm building a school in Africa for over 100 kids to be able to be fed.
And the pastor makes it very clear to his church on multiple occasions that every time someone rises up against him, God blesses him.
3 years ago, when the elders walked out on me and got so upset about stuff, the city of Myrtle Beach called us and they said, you guys just won the Best House of Worship Award, #1 church in all of Myrtle Beach. I thought, I didn't even know that. I said, how does that happen? They said, we phone call, we poll people all through the community. We look on social media, we see what people are saying, all these different things. And y'all got first place. Oh, that's so cool. 2 years ago when we started the school and people started giving me all kinds of problems and headache and things behind the scenes that had nothing to do with the school at all, got upset, stabbed me in the back. Myrtle Beach called us again. Guess what? Y'all got Best Church of the Year 2 years in a row. That's amazing. You can't keep me down. You're putting fuel in my plane. And guess who's not going to be in the plane? My enemies. You have to take a taxi if you want to get there. And I pray for you, my enemies. I pray that you come to a place of repentance. I pray that you realize you're not hurting me, you're hurting the kingdom of God.
And in this sermon, the pastor preaches that it's wrong for people to rise up against religious leaders.
So long story short, Korah gets 2 other guys that are leaders in the church with him. Those 3 leaders then get 250 Israelite leaders, and they begin to rebel against the leadership of Moses. You say, what did Moses do wrong? That's not the point. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The matters is the hierarchy of how God had it set, and they're rising up against him because Satan loves to use disgruntled people. If you knew every single thing about me, everything I've done wrong, you probably wouldn't be here today, and you probably wouldn't want to be my friend.
And finally, and possibly the most important one, the sister of Micah Miller made this Facebook post on March 17th. It says, I was sitting in church today when I received a text message. Usually I don't check my phone and I keep it on silent. But with everything going on with my sister, I've made it a point to try and keep an eye on it for fear of her safety due to others' behaviors towards her. To no surprise, it was a message about what was said from the pulpit today in Myrtle Beach at her church. I have so much sadness that someone could take the position that was hopefully given to them by God and use it for their own benefit, abusing God's gift of free will. Though she doesn't speak specifically about what was said in the message, here's what I believe she was talking about.
A friend of mine that's a pastor called me last week, and one day on a Monday, his wife told him that he was the greatest husband in the world, that she loved her life and she was so appreciative. The very next day, something happened and she left. And he didn't know where she went. She just left. Left all of her things, left everything she had, everything she worked for, everything. He didn't know what to think. He had no idea what was going on. So he hired a third-party service to find her and see where she was living and that kind of stuff. And they did. And last week they turned in all of their evidence to his lawyer, and he discovered that she had left him for one of his staff members, a young man that he had trained to learn how to preach, that he had shared his pulpit with him, a young man who the pastor had paid to go to Bible college, gave him a job. He worked hand in hand with the pastor. And in one fleeting moment, the pastor lost his wife and his good friend all at the same time. When he saw the information over at the lawyers, he started to throw up, just throw up one trash can, second trash can, a third trash can, and then he just started to dry heave. He couldn't believe what he saw was the most horrible image and worst thing you could ever imagine. The lawyer drew up the divorce papers. The lawyer told him and said, you have everything you need now. You can be divorced in 3 months. And you'll never have to see her again. You won't have to give her a dime. There's far more than enough information to take care of everything. The pastor said, give me the papers, draw them up. They got all the paperwork ready. They put the pen in his hand, and he just couldn't sign the paper. They said, but don't you see everything and don't you understand? And he called a lot of the elders, and they supported, if he wanted to leave her, just leave her. This is it. For some reason, he just couldn't do it. And so he went home and he wrote her a letter. And all he said was, I forgive you for what you've done. And I already forgive you for whatever you're going to do. Whenever you want to be restored, just call. And if you want a divorce, you'll have to leave me, because the Bible says, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. He left. And the hardest thing he's ever had to go through, he can't hear from God very clearly. He doesn't know what God wants him to do. He knows that she's not herself and doesn't know how to handle it or how to respond. The rage, the rejection, the relationship, it's all there. And so if you get a chance, pray that his heart does not remain angry or upset, because it's destroying him.
And for those who say he may not have been talking about Micah in that clip, take a listen to this.
This is the worst sermon I've ever preached my whole life. I can't stand it. I just want to get the altar call and quit now. One day, listen, if you ever want to know what I'm going through in life, it's always about what I'm preaching about. God is so good to do that every single time.
Remember, the only one to announce that Micah took her own life was her husband. Police have not.
Phone rings and they just put up their ear. What is it? And it's the answer to their miracle. Whatever the results to the test came back. We were so sorry, we got it wrong. You don't have cancer. Or the lottery. You just won the lottery. Whatever it is going through. And your relative says, God, this is amazing. Why would you do this for me? And God says, I love you, but I didn't do this for you. You see, 300 years ago, your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents were listening to this tall, charming, humble pastor, and he told them that if they'll give their life to Christ, that God won't just take care of them, he'll take care of the ones that come after him. And so I love you, but I didn't heal you for your sake. I did it because the promise I made to them 300 years ago. That's what I want you to leave here with. Okay, that's amen. We're not going to do an altar call today. Instead, I'm going to have you stand up and I'm going to make an announcement. And after the announcement, I'm going to ask that you leave church quietly and don't talk about the announcement here in the building, please, if you can, so y'all can stand to your feet. Before I make the announcement, I also want to say that my request to you is that you will continue to come to church and serve and give for the next, little bit. 'Cause I don't want to I'm taking a little bit of a break, and I don't want to have to worry about the church. My break may be a few days, a few weeks, I don't know. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. And yeah.